Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. Today is Season 4, Episode 29, and unfortunately this weekend we watched the Steelers fall to 0-2 against the Seahawks. They lost 28-26. But that wasn't the biggest loss they suffered in this game. About halfway through the game, we saw Roethlisberger shake his elbow on a non-contact injury. He just threw the ball and just started shaking his elbow. Had to come out. And we found out that Mason Rudolph was going to be playing the rest of the game. And not only that, is that Mason Rudolph is going to finish the rest of the year. As Ben has been put on IR, he's going to have elbow surgery. It is not Tommy John surgery, but he's going to be out for the year and will not be coming back until next season, which he has promised he will make his comeback. He said he will finish out his contract as a Steeler, with the Steelers. I'm sorry. So, what do you make of all of this?
Well, hello to you, Austin, and certainly a somber week in Pittsburgh. Not only the team falling to 0-2 in very unimpressive fashion, but the Steelers are dealt what seems like a death blow in losing their franchise quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger. And it still kind of hasn't really hit me just that he's not going to be playing the rest of the season now. We already know that Ben Roethlisberger is a guy that took a lot of hits, got sacked a lot of times early in his career, and he's dealt with a lot of injuries throughout his career. I think there was a website I was looking at where it had 23 documented injuries that he's suffered from 2006 to, I think, last year. So up through the season finale last year, it had 23 documented injuries, not to mention the ones he suffered in his rookie year. I think he had a thumb injury and a knee injury he suffered in his second season. So, I mean, you think about all that, all the times he's been hit and all that stuff, this is the first time he's going to miss more than 4 games in a season. How crazy is that?
Pretty insane. It's especially more insane when you think about this is the best offensive line and best protection he's had in like his whole career, basically. I mean the past 5 years he's had like this offensive line and stuff, but like compared to the beginning of his career, like it's crazy that now is a time where he's gonna be out for the like whole year.
And you look at his sack percentages; they were really high early in his career. He never had a sack percentage lower than 7.2. Through the year 2011, which was right up until Todd Haley got hired. When Haley got hired, the numbers went down into the 6%, and then in 2014, that's when Mike Munchak was brought on. In his first year there was 5.1, and since then it's never been higher than 4.1. So he's really been specializing on getting the ball out quickly and not getting hit, and that's the tragic irony of it all, is that the offensive line that's preserved him and has gotten him through to this point of his career, where we probably never would have seen this had he not stopped getting sacked so much. It's a non-contact injury, like you said, that ends up being the death blow for him in this season. So, you know, the Steelers have never had to go more than a handful of games. The most recent instance I can think of, 2017 he sat out a game for. It wasn't an injury-related thing. 2016, the last time he missed a game was in 2016, the 1 week for a meniscus tear. But the only other time since I think 2012 where he's missed more than like one game due to injury was 2015, when he had that ankle and foot injuries that he suffered in against the Rams and the Raiders. I don't know. It's so weird to think that he's not going to be playing. And really, this is uncharted territory for the Steelers under Mike Tomlin, and really for the Steelers since 2004 when Ben Roethlisberger came in. There really is just a lot of question marks going forward with this team.
Yeah, the Steelers are in a very weird year. They've done a lot of weird stuff this entire year. Weird free agency for them, a weird draft, a weird transactions as of late, just a bunch of weird stuff, and now it just gets weirder where they're not going to be with their rock, the one guy that's been the same for all these years. It's going to be really different going forward, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on Mason Rudolph. I feel like he's the guy that the team gave a first-round grade. He's supposed to be Ben Roethlisberger's heir, and to increase the pressure more, the Steelers bet down on him by making an addition, which we'll leave for later. But they made a high-priced addition, and I'm hoping that he really lives up to that first-round grade. But I'm not expecting it. He played well in the second half of the Seattle game when he got to come in having thrown 2 touchdowns and then 1 interception that I refuse to acknowledge as an interception, but it goes down as his. But overall, pretty good, and he didn't really have a run game to bank on either. So again, I'm hoping for the best here. But there's a lot of pressure on Mason Rudolph right now, and a lot of pressure on the Steelers organization because I guess there's not a lot of pressure because a lot of people are saying that the Steelers are going to go 4-12 now and stuff like that. But there is still a lot of pressure on Mason Rudolph. I feel at least.
Well, there's a lot of pressure from within. As far as national pundits go, I feel like everyone looking from the outside is not going to have a ton of expectations for this team, right? It's mostly going to be internally.
Oh yeah. Everyone's saying 4-12, 3-13, 4-12.
But yeah, the onus is really on everybody, and I know it's kind of cliche, but really everyone needs to step up. And I'm sure you've heard about the comparisons to 2004, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so as we know, Ben Roethlisberger stepped in for an injured Tommy Maddox in 2004. The Steelers ran the table, went 13-0 in his 13 starts, got to the playoffs and lost in the AFC Championship game. And a lot of people have drawn comparisons in the same way that Roethlisberger left with an elbow injury like Maddox did 15 years ago. And Rudolph came in, played well in the loss, and took over from there. Now, let's slow down a little bit here. We'll see what happens. But comparing these two teams right now is a mistake. The fact of the matter is, first of all, the league is different. Rookies didn't play that much, and they didn't throw the ball that much in 2004. It's a little different now. Rookies do play a little more, and it's more of a passing league now than it ever has been. But that still being the case, I think it's fair to say that the support system for Roethlisberger that he had in 2004 is far better than what Mason Rudolph has right now. Now, granted, we'll get into the defense and sort of what's going on there in a minute, but there has been no really established running game. Austin and I were talking about this. The Steelers have the 4th worst rushing attack in the league right now. They couldn't establish it last week. They couldn't get it going against the Patriots. We've seen no rhythm from this offense whatsoever, sans for a couple drives from Rudolph and like one from Ben Roethlisberger. The receivers haven't been able to get separation, and the quarterbacks have misfired, and there's just been nothing consistent about this offense besides maybe pass protection that you can really hang your hat on right now. Teams are taking Juju Smith-Schuster away, and no one else has stepped up to counter that and to basically make them respect them, make the other team's defenses respect them. So the offense really needs to work on getting better when it comes to running the ball, and they need someone else to step up. And, of course, there's James Washington. We can talk about him and Dante Moncrief and Deontay Johnson. We'll get into that later. But it's going to take a more established running game to start and someone else to step up for this offense to get back to where it could at least be competent. And then on the other side of the ball, look, I don't think it's a mistake to say that this unit has not met expectations so far. Now, yes, I understand that playing in New England, that's tough, but the players have underachieved so far, and they need to be better. And the splash plays we saw last week were good, but we haven't seen enough consistency from them. And, again, the coaching from Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin, too, has just not been good enough on the defensive side of the ball. Again, not putting guys in position to succeed. And until things improve across the board, I really don't see how that changes. But, maybe it takes an injury like this for everyone to kind of look in the mirror and do something. At least that's kind of what I'm hoping. You can't go into the rest of the season doing exactly what you were doing before. You can say that you are, but you just aren't. That's just not true.
Yeah, man, and just to build on it, the Steelers on Sunday had 7 starting first-round picks, former first-round picks, and 9 in total on the defense alone on Sunday. And if that's not living up to expectations with how this defense has performed, I don't know what is. It's just the defense hasn't been what it should be with all the talent that's been added. I don't know if it's not being used correctly, or these guys are just all not working together as a team that well, or the Steelers are just not good at drafting defensive pieces and only have a few good ones to work with. It could be a combination of all three, but really at this point, it's just this team is not like that 04 team because of that the defense. The defense is holding them back, and the rest of the surrounding cast isn't going to be what Mason Rudolph has. Like it isn't going to be like what Ben had when he first came on in 04 with like Jerome Bettis and all those guys. It's just it's going to be interesting going forward. It's going to be hard for the new guy to come in and just and ball out here. It's going to be really tough. It's probably going to not be the most fun of a season, but we're here for it anyway.
And not to say that they can't get better. It's just that they haven't been good. Again, it's only been 2 games. That's just what I want to point out. The Steelers really didn't gain traction last year until their 5th game of the year. So it's not like this is the team. They can be better, and they all know that they can be. But it's just what we've seen. It's simply not good enough. And it's going to take better efforts and, just really better play overall from everybody for it to happen. So I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just the way things are going right now, they need to change if there's going to be any sort of success. Now, I guess realistic expectations for this season.
Well,
actually, wait. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I also forgot to mention the corresponding moves for the quarterbacks. As we know, Devlin Hodges was on the practice squad. He got called up, so he's now the backup quarterback. Tragic irony that the Steelers just traded away Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, that you hate to see it. I mean, you can't really project injury, but I mean, you just really hate to see it. I mean, Josh Dobbs would have been nice to have, but to back up Mason Rudolph, but I still don't regret it to this point. The 5th round pick is nice, and hopefully at this point, you're just hoping for Mason Rudolph not to go down. Because, I mean, Devlin Hodges is not a guy you want to see starting in a regular season game.
No, he might be a decent NFL backup, next year. I don't want to see him play this year.
Yeah, no. He definitely needs a redshirt season.
And then, furthermore, the Steelers replaced Hodges' spot on the practice squad with former first-round pick in Paxton Lynch, and I don't really care. Not that I don't care, but I don't think that I saw some people saying that they're trying to finally get things to work for him, and I don't think Paxton Lynch is going to work, but I think he's just there as a body and a guy that has NFL experience. So I definitely don't mind, but I mean in terms of the depth chart, it's quite obvious, and it should be. But Hodges is number 2 and Lynch is number 3.
Yeah, no, 100%. Lynch is a new guy coming in, and that might have a chance to crack the 53 if Mason Rudolph goes down. And over time, he might be able to take the backup spot from Devlin Hodges. But right now, that's Hodges to lose. I just think it's cool because Paxton Lynch was a Steelers fan growing up, and his grandmother still lives in Pennsylvania, and they're all Steelers fans, so he's hoping for a rebirth with his childhood team. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, yes indeed. Oh, and by the way, it's a good thing that when the Steelers cut Devlin Hodges, that he didn't sign with the XFL, because if he did, he would not be able to come back, because as we learned, Landry Jones, the former Steelers backup, is unable to sign with the Steelers because of the fact that he does have a contract with the XFL. So the Steelers would have been really hamstrung if they had traded away Dobbs, and Hodges would not be available. Then you'd really, really be in trouble.
Yeah, Jones is probably pissed right now. He's probably, because I bet the Steelers would have brought him back. I would have probably put money on it that the Steelers would have at least called to see what he was up to. Oh, and one more thing I just want to say about Paxton Lynch. Not that it matters too much, but Paxton Lynch actually has familiarity with Tevin Jones also on the practice squad. Tevin Jones and Paxton Lynch both went to Memphis at the same exact time, so they played together. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
Oh, good to see. So how tall is Paxton Lynch? He's a typical John Elway quarterback, right?
I actually don't know his height.
I'm pretty sure he's a big dude, if I'm not mistaken, because that's the kind of guy John Lynch likes to get.
Yeah, no, that would make sense.
Paxton Lynch is 6'7", 245 pounds.
Yep, that's a big guy.
Looks like he's wearing number 5.
Oh, okay.
So So hopefully we don't have to see him this year. No offense to Mr. Paxton here.
Yeah, hopefully just hangs out on the practice squad.
Okay, so before we get to the whole Minka Fitzpatrick trade, what about, let's just talk a little bit, I know we kind of already talked a little bit about it, but expectations this year for the rest of the team as far as like, again, we're venturing right into the dark here, but, you know, what is the reasonable upside for this team going forward?
So, for specifics, I'm expecting James Washington to step up for real this time. I tweeted it during the game as I was live tweeting the Seahawks game, but Rudolph should boost how Washington plays as they've had chemistry for so long. So there's no more excuses for Washington after this point for me. If there was ever not that Ben's like any bad or anything, but Mason Rudolph and James Washington's connection should be amazing. It should be already known. There should be a good chemistry there. So I'm expecting James Washington to come out and really, really show some stuff in the regular season starting after this week, because I'm expecting Rudolph to make him his favorite receiver, even over Juju possibly, because I'm assuming that teams are still going to take away Juju. And I mean, how is Mason Rudolph going to say no to his college teammate that he always used to go to? It's just I feel like Washington is who I'm looking for to actually get better from this point. Also, I'm expecting Vance McDonald to stay good as well. I felt like as soon as Mason Rudolph came in, the 2 touchdowns both went to Vance McDonald. So I'm hoping that connection stays. It's only one game, and so it's hard to base it off of this when I've only seen Mason Rudolph play with the starters for one game now, but it's just I'm hoping for that as well for specifics. Now for other expectations, things are still the same for the offensive line and the running back room. They both need to make it easy on the new guy in the room here, and especially the running backs need to step up. O-line did its job against Seattle for the most part. They didn't let them sack Mason Rudolph, but there's got to be a run game to help Rudolph out here in his first stint as a starter. Ben, I trust with the ball in his hands all game. I don't know what to expect from Rudolph yet, so I'm looking for the running backs to step up and create a running game, and maybe even the O-line to block a little better in the run blocking department, because they're already good pass blockers. The run blocking isn't as great, but that they have some room for improvement there as well. And as for the whole team expectations, I still expect this team to still finish 8-8. The Twitter experts think the Steelers will get 4 wins or less and are heading for a top 10 pick. But with a team that's never had a losing record under Mike Tomlin, it's hard for me to say anything less than 8-8. And the little I saw from Rudolph gives me hope that is more than achievable. I'm not even ready to rule out this team for the playoffs yet, which I think that's a stretch. I don't believe in it, but it's not completely out of the question. It's going to be dependent. You never know who's going to break out. Patrick Mahomes.
What about? I was going to say, what's the sure things in the AFC right now? It's New England and Kansas City, right?
Yeah, exactly. New England and Kansas City.
What else is there right now? I mean, we've seen a couple teams, but like the Ravens and like the Texans, I think those are 2 teams that might show something. But I mean, seriously, there's no one else sticking out right now.
Yeah, so anything can happen. You never know. Mason Rudolph could come out and be just another great quarterback. I'm not banking on it, but you don't know. Patrick Mahomes, I thought, and a lot of people thought, after his practices and stuff, thought he was going to be terrible coming out into his. He obviously got to play week 17 for I forget which year in his rookie year, but coming into his second year, I didn't think he was going to be good. He had thrown more interceptions than touchdowns in practice and everything, and it sounded like it was going to be bad. And you know what Patrick Mahomes came out and did? Patrick Mahomes came out and won MVP, and he's on track for a second one. So, I mean, you never know. He could come out and be Patrick Mahomes. He could come out and be Christian Ponder. I don't really know. It's going to be interesting going forward. But that's why I'm not ruling out the playoffs just yet. I have to see Mason Rudolph actually play a little bit more to make a judgment on where this team can go. And I need to see what the rest of the team can do if they could step up and come rise up around their new quarterback here. But, yeah.
Well, like we were saying, the expectations are really like where this team could go is quite wide, just because of the fact that we really don't know what we're going to see. Now, again, we just talked about the sure things. The rest of the AFC seems to be up for grabs. a lot of good things need to happen. This would be different if the Steelers were 0-0 with Ben Roethlisberger out for the year, but they're 0-2 right now. They already need to climb themselves out of a difficult spot. The only chance for the Steelers to make the playoffs, in my opinion, would come from them. They have to win their next 2 games. Now, I guess you could make the argument that if they lose in San Francisco this week, it's not over just because it is a road game in the NFC. But I think if you're looking at 0-3, the chances of making the playoffs if you're 0-3 is astronomical. Now, granted, the Houston Texans went 0-3 last year, and they still made the playoffs. So I guess it's not impossible. But I guess what I'm saying is Week 3 sort of becomes a must-win, and then Week 4 against the Bengals, that's kind of a must-win as well.
Yeah, and realistically, if the Steelers can rally behind Mason Rudolph, win the next 3 games in a row, the Chiefs help you out a little bit, and I didn't look at the Browns' schedule, but the Browns lose one of their next 3 games. The Steelers are in first in the division, because playing the Ravens and beating them in 3 weeks from now would put them both at 3-2 with a Chiefs win this Sunday against Baltimore. So if with a little Chiefs help and a win there, Steelers are just right back in it. I mean, it sounds rough right now with what the team is, but I mean, these games are winnable. The one that's not exactly winnable or kind of scary to me right now is the Ravens game. I don't know where the Ravens are at. I haven't been able to judge them because of the competition they've played. They played the Dolphins and they played the Cardinals. And it's been hard to really judge them based off of that. Right now they look really good, but that could be a facade because they played trash teams. I'm looking to see how they do against Kansas City this Sunday, and then I'll be able to make a judgment. But the 49ers, that's a winnable game. It's on the West Coast, traditionally hard for the Steelers, but team-wise, that's not exactly the hardest game. Bengals, definitely not. The Bengals are definitely one of the worst teams in the league, and if the Steelers lose there, then we will know where the Steelers stand, because then we'll actually know that the Steelers are on the bad side of teams if they lose to the Bengals. Not necessarily, but I mean, the Steelers haven't lost to the Bengals since what, 2015?
2015. They lost once in 2015, and besides that, they hadn't lost to them since 2013.
Exactly. So it's not even traditional to lose to the Bengals. So it's going to be interesting going forward in these next 3 weeks. That's for sure.
Well, the Browns' schedule, as you wanted to note, so from Week 3 to Week 7, so their next 4 games going into their Week 7 bye week, because they have the same bye as the Steelers. They are hosting the Los Angeles Rams. They're in Baltimore, in San Francisco, hosting the Seahawks. They're on their bye week, and then after the bye week, they're in New England and then in Denver. So that's a tough schedule.
Oh, yeah. I expect them to drop at least one of those, and that's being nice. I expect them to probably drop 2 or 3 of those. The Rams, the Patriots, and probably Baltimore. So that's pretty rough.
That is a difficult stretch. So, again, like you said, it's, we were talking last year. I remember you said the Steelers were an 8-7-1 team after they went 1-2-1 in their first 4. And I said it was too early. Now, granted, they only finished 1 game better, but they still finished 9-6-1. The point is that the Steelers can dig themselves out of slow starts. They did it last year, and it's only been 2 weeks. But again, we keep circling back to it. They need to win the next 2 games.
Yep, that's for sure.
So one other injury that's kind of flown maybe a little under the radar because of the Ben Roethlisberger injury. First of all, there's a James Conner injury, but furthermore, safety Sean Davis was lost for the season with a torn labrum. I actually suffered that same injury as well. So he's out for a lot. He might be out for the season. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, did they put him on IR with the designated to return or not?
They're expecting him to return.
They are expecting him to return. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, in that case, I'm not exactly sure what his outlook is, but it is possible if he is. Did he go? He went to IR, right?
Yeah, he's on IR now. The Steelers placed him on IR.
Well, it's still possible then that he might not play anymore. This might be it for him this season.
Yeah, he's not guaranteed to come back. The Steelers might wait it out, might decide someone else gets hurt, put them on IR, and designate them to return instead. So we don't know.
Part of the reason the Steelers ended up doing what they did here this week is because of the injury to Davis, and that is, of course, the Steelers trading for former first-round pick Minkah Fitzpatrick, the safety from the Miami Dolphins. He was a first-rounder just 2 years ago, the same year the Steelers drafted Terrell Edmunds. He was picked number 11 overall. In that trade, the Steelers picked up not only Fitzpatrick, but they also picked up the Tennessee Titans 2020 4th-round pick and the Dolphins 2021 7th-round pick. While the Dolphins get the Steelers' first-round pick next year, which will be the first time the Steelers won't have a first-round pick since 1967. That's kind of crazy. And they also have 2 conditional picks from the Steelers, a 2020 5th-round pick and a 2021 6th-round pick. So, man, it's like you said, it's been a weird year. You got the Steelers trading up for Devin Bush, spending the most money they've ever spent in free agency, and then trading a first-round pick. Wow, I did not see this one coming. I don't remember if I told you, but I remember talking to a couple of buddies of mine saying that I actually would not mind giving up a first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I cited the same thing that I know you're going to say. It's the Steelers' track record with defensive backs that they've drafted in recent years has just not been very good. So you're getting a guy that's already proven that can help you right now, plus the team control. This is not a rental. This is something with eyes towards the future, too. And I'd rather the Steelers use that pick to get Fitzpatrick as opposed to drafting a guy that may or may not work out several years down the line, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, I love this trade. I think it's great because Minkah Fitzpatrick is a cheap option for about 3 years, and with his 5th-year option, he has 4 years. So this was great. I was so happy seeing this. I was a little bit lowballing it when I first saw that the Steelers were like considered the top team to get Minkah. I was saying like a second and a late trade up for the Dolphins, so a 2nd-round pick and then give them like a 5th for their 6th. But I was still happy with the 1st-round pick because the value is there. I mean, everyone's saying that the Steelers just gave up a top 10 pick, and I don't know if I subscribe to that idea. I actually don't. I don't subscribe to that idea. I think the Steelers are going to finish 8-8. So I think they're going to finish with like pick number 15, and people are overblowing it. But regardless, I don't really understand what the problem is anyway. I thought this was great, even when I just thought it was the Steelers giving them a 1st-round pick just for Minkah straight up. And then I found out the Steelers got to move up into the 4th round as well in this trade. I mean, they had to basically give up the Gerald Hawkins trade that they did for 2021, but like, who cares? Like, who really cares about that giving that up? Like, it was nice to just have, but Minkah Fitzpatrick is even better to have. And I don't understand all the naysayers about this trade because he's there for 3 years, and the defensive back room wasn't looking good. Like, the Steelers, like you said, the Steelers' track record with drafting defensive backs just hasn't been a good one. And I think they figured it out that the best way to get defensive backs is from other teams, because now their best defensive backs, besides Mike Hilton, are Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, and now Minkah Fitzpatrick, which all came from different teams. And the ones that are considered bad right now are probably, if you might not do it yet, but I think Terrell Edmunds is bad. I've had that in my head since he was drafted, and it's kind of hard for me to shake it. And then you got Artie Burns that they drafted. And I mean, you might think Cameron Sutton's okay, but he hasn't shown anything other than that. It's just the Steelers have finally figured out that, hey, maybe we could just go get one that's good already instead of trying to risk it when we're obviously not good at evaluating defensive backs here. And so I'm happy with this. Everyone outside the organization, I guess I shouldn't say everyone, but most people will say that the Steelers got fleeced here, that this wasn't worth it, but I'm happy. And for the Steelers, I'm happy that the Steelers gave up. I'm happy with who they got. It's like one of the first times like that you see like a guy that you really wanted go on the trade block, and then the Steelers actually got him. It feels nice.
Well, and it's a perfect fit for the defense, too. Let's think about that. We know that he can play sort of like a dime backer, linebacker kind of spot. He can play in the slot. He's really good in the slot. He can play both safety spots, although he's best as a free safety. This is really what the defense needs. They need a playmaker like him. And I know he's been overshadowed a bit by Derwin James because Derwin James is amazing, but Fitzpatrick has been very impressive in his own right, and I really think that he does improve this defense. But again, it's a lot about how he's incorporated, and I don't know if you want to talk about that, but that now, or if you want to just touch on his playmaking ability first.
We could talk about how he's used now.
Okay, so I guess in that sense, really kind of the spotlight. If there's pressure on anyone right now, more than Mason Rudolph, it's Keith Butler. This is, he's on strike 2.5 right now. This is pretty much it for him. What are the details? Aren't there like a ton of, I think the entire defense besides Vince Williams, as far as guys that play significant snaps, are either like first, second, or third round picks.
Yeah, 10 defensive players with Minkah Fitzpatrick are first round picks right now, and 8 of them are starters. So essentially, they're basically all first rounders, like a good majority of them.
So that being the case, what is the issue? Why is this defense not doing well? Now, again, you said the drafting of the defensive backs has not always been great, but it's not like there's no talent there. We've seen some inconsistency from Terrell Edmonds. We've seen some decent things from him before, though. Is it like right now? Like, how are you feeling here? Like, there's got to be some blame on both here, but I'm like, it's hard for me to not point to Keith Butler and say this needs to work, because there's no reason for this not to.
So Steven Nelson has proven in these first 2 weeks that he's really good. He's worked out better than we could have hoped, because I think we were talking about this today, and you said it. You said that you were thinking he was going to be a guy that made some plays and gave up some plays. So far, he's only just been a lockdown, sticky corner, and he's been great, and it's been a surprise to us because that's not what we're expecting. Joe Hayden is still Joe Hayden. He's really good. Minkah Fitzpatrick brings in a new good free safety, and it's probably the best free safety since 2013. I'm sorry, just best safety since 2013. I'm sorry, and that the Steelers have had. I'm sorry, I'm really messed up right now. But then you just got all these defensive pieces. You got T.J. Watt, and you still got Mike Hilton came to play against the Seahawks. He forced a fumble that kept the Steelers in it for just like one more drive. And just really, it's at this point, if Keith Butler can't succeed, it's on him. I said it a little while ago, but I've been saying that Keith Butler doesn't put his players in positions to succeed. This is why you see linebackers on slot receivers and stuff like that. And he really doesn't do well in that regard. He does good on setting blitzes and stunting and stuff like that. It's why the Steelers have had the best sack defense for the past 2 years in a row. But he's not good at coverage or getting them into position to intercept the ball. He's not good at getting them to get their head around and get their hands up. And I don't know. He's just not been good at that. But now with all this talent, it's unacceptable at this point. You got a really good defensive line with Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, and Javon Hargrave. You got really solid linebackers with Devin Bush, who's number 10 overall. You got Mark Barron, who's been playing pretty decently. Vince Williams, when he comes back from injury, has been solid. T.J. Watt on the outside. Bud Dupree isn't that great, but I mean, he's at this point, we're talking about a lot of guys here that are really good. And I already went over the secondary right now. The only one guy in the secondary that you could really point out as not being that good, if you want to, is Terrell Edmonds, which Terrell Edmonds had a shaky start to the game, and I know I said he's bad, but he was actually a really sound tackler against Seattle. He was really good at limiting Tyler Lockett's yards after the catch in that game, kept tackling him basically as soon as he made the catch. So there are some good things about Terrell Edmonds, and he could still develop into something, but yeah, so Keith Butler has no reason to fail anymore. There's literally none. There's no glaring hole anymore. There's no just one guy that's going to be let down the whole defense. The whole defense has so many good players on it that it's just he's on notice. If he wasn't already on notice, he definitely is now, because there's no reason that the team should fail, especially on defense going forward.
And we were talking about it. What's his realistic kind of trial run here?
So what I said it at was I said it at Miami, because I think that's a game that that's just going to be really tough to lose. Like if the Steelers somehow mess up against Miami, someone's head has got to be taken there. Someone's someone messed up there, and it's probably going to be Keith Butler. So what I'm watching for is that game to see how he does up until that game. So that's including the Chargers and a bunch of other teams, and we're going to see how he does there. And if he fails in Miami, it's just you got to be done. You got to axe someone there, I think, because if you're losing to Miami, it means you're one of the worst teams in the league. So, yeah, that's where I have it set. How about you?
Well, we had been talking about this. I think a more likely scenario is after the Chargers game, he gets axed in Week 6, allowing the new defensive coordinator, who I assume would be Terrell Austin, to have the full bye week and then the full week of preparation against the Miami Dolphins to get set against an easier opponent, if you will. I think that makes more sense, which means that every game now, like you said, is key for Keith Butler. Like you said, there's no excuses. This is it for him, and I really think he's gotten more chances than he deserves. But I really hope that with this extra piece now, he finally puts it together. But to be honest with you, I'm really not hopeful.
Yeah, I'm skeptical because he already had so many pieces to start with. Like, realistically, the defense should have been performing better than it already has already, even before Minkah Fitzpatrick. But now it's just like you have about 2 holes on defense, if you want to call them holes. Like, there's no one to blame but yourself here.
100%. So, speaking of that defense, I guess we should get into that game. The Steelers lose 28-26 to the Seattle Seahawks at home. Oh, man, this game is taking kind of a backseat here. But a game that the Steelers were definitely in, but at the same time we're still vastly outplayed. Just an overall disappointing performance again. And it was better this week than the Patriots game, but again, that's a very low bar. The offense just continued to come out of the gate slow. They only had one drive of more than 10 yards until the forced fumble on Chris Carson by T.J. Watt. They just were not moving the ball, and it took a short field to finally get things going.
Yeah, the offense definitely was really struggling here, and you saw finally Vance McDonald get used, but tight end, he was the only one with a catch for I'm sorry, let me back up for a second. There wasn't a wide receiver with a catch in this game until I believe the second quarter. It was only Vance McDonald and running backs up until that point. It took so many drives for Ben to even get a wide receiver to get the ball, because there's just the wide receivers were really struggling. They're getting blanketed. Juju wasn't getting open. James Washington was getting open. Dante Moncrief had already been his snaps had been cut down significantly. Ryan Switzer, even on his 2-yard, 0-yard runs, just wasn't getting open. So it was literally only Vance McDonald for a whole quarter, it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, McDonald was the only guy I felt like the Steelers were being able to go to with any repeated, efficiency early on there. And it wasn't even like he was getting a ton of yards. I mean, he averaged just over 5 yards a catch early on. But again, Smith-Schuster no one was getting open. And that's been the biggest problem. Ben was inaccurate this year when he was playing. But I mean, seriously, how many times did we see him drop back this season where he's sitting there looking for someone to throw to, looking, and he has to either scramble out and no one's getting open, or he's just throwing it away or throwing it to a guy that's covered. I mean, there's nobody getting open. We talked about it after the Patriots game that, these guys are just limited in getting open, and I feel like Randy Fichtner hasn't done as good of a job as scheming them open as he probably could. But again, how much can he really do if the guys just aren't getting open?
Yeah, man, it's just at the end of the roster, it just doesn't seem like they're good enough. I'm worried a little bit about James Washington going forward, because we've seen him have really good preseasons, but we haven't really seen enough in the regular season yet, and that's concerning me. I mean, his snaps did increase from game 1, and he looked a little bit better out there, but I'm still worried about him. Dante Moncrief is essentially done. Dante Moncrief, I'm not sure if he's going to finish the year as the Steeler. It's going to be interesting going forward. The Steelers made a mistake. Not with signing him, the Steelers made a mistake by not letting him heal his finger up first. Because I truly believe that when I saw the Moncrief signing, I was excited. I thought that was a good signing. I remembered him with Andrew Luck catching these deep balls and just running for long touchdowns. Not too often, but a good amount of times that I was like, this guy's a really good sneaky signing. And now we're getting the Sammy Coates treatment all over again. He has a dislocated finger. He can't catch anything because of it. Not that should be to blame. He should still be able to do it. If he's saying he's been okay enough to play, but the Steelers should have just rested him. The Steelers should have let him go, heal up the finger. I don't know how long a dislocated finger takes, to be honest. It probably takes a month, so he probably wouldn't have been back yet. But, I mean, granted, it's better than what... Honestly, the Steelers probably would have been better off without him playing than him playing these first 2 weeks. Because, I mean, he led directly to the interception in this game. That wasn't Mason Rudolph. That was literally on him. He dropped a pass that he went up for, and then the Seahawks were able to just get behind him and intercept it. Like, that wasn't even on Mason Rudolph. It was just on him. You never know. So maybe, literally, it could have been so different. The Steelers could be 1-1 right now if Moncrief didn't play. I mean, they obviously you're still losing to the Patriots, right? Like, Moncrief doesn't do anything there. You just still lose that game. I think the Patriots still blow you out there. But, like, it's so much different maybe if that interception doesn't happen. I don't know. It's all what
well,
ifs.
He's been at the focal point of 2 turning points in both games this year.
Exactly. It's been really rough. So he should have just been left to heal up and just try and get better. And, I mean, if he came back and was still like this, I mean, fine. But I really think this on the dislocated finger. We saw the same exact situation happen with Sammy Coates, and it's just been a mistake. So he might not even finish as a Steeler.
And that ruined his confidence, Sammy Coates. So, I mean, we already know that Moncrief has been very, very hard on himself. So, again, this is just poor player management, in my opinion. I mean, he certainly needs to do better, but the fact is he's going out there with a broken finger trying to catch a pass. You know, why don't you go out there and try to do the same thing? I know it's his job, but he shouldn't be asked to do that. I mean, after week 1, what they should have done, you know what they really should have done if they really wanted to work on his confidence? Throw him a quick screen on the first play of the game.
Yeah, just something easy to catch. What if he dropped it, though?
Well, if he drops it, then you do the exact same thing you did after he dropped the pass last week. You just bench him. I think, he's definitely going to be, he should be inactive, at least for the next, 2 to 3 weeks while he heals up. And then, I don't know, maybe you see where things are. Maybe the team is better or not doing as well. If they're struggling on offense still, maybe you throw him back out there. I mean, you're not going to save any money by cutting him right now. And you did invest some money into him, so maybe you owe it to yourself. If you're struggling that much early in the year, you could at that point in the year, you could just bring him back and just give him a shot because you did invest that money. But he's already on strike too.
Yeah, he's really got to work his way back up the roster right now. And honestly, I mean, it's just what really pisses me off even more is just the fact that the Steelers brought in Johnny Holton onto the 53, so they got an extra wide receiver than that they started with, and that they still decided just to keep Dante Moncrief playing like this. Like, I don't know, man. Like, what was the point? You have another wide receiver to play over Moncrief. It's just, I don't know. It's just extra. It's insult to injury here that he's just not been playing good, and they're not even using their other wide receivers that they thought they needed just for special teams, it feels like.
Yeah, I think part of it's because Holton plays the Z. Him and James Washington have been splitting when they're in 3 receiver sets, which again I'm not crazy about. I want to see more of Washington. I also I'm conflicted about Deontay Johnson. He had a nice catch, but he also had another bad drop.
Yeah, he's still a rookie. He definitely needs to work on it a little bit. His breakout year might be next year, but I mean it's very early on, so.
I'm still not convinced that Ryan Switzer's job is safe in the coming weeks. He had 4 targets, caught one of them for no yards at all, and he muffed a punt return, which got him yanked off that unit, which is honestly the only reason he's on the team. He had one punt return from 1 yard, and he muffed one. He got it back, but I don't know. We've already talked at length about his limited offensive upside.
Yeah, so it's kind of looking grim for him. It's too bad Spencer couldn't make it back to the practice squad. Otherwise, we might be talking about that change happening. It would have been possible that Spencer could have been elevated over him at this point, even though Spencer didn't show much on offense during the preseason. But it's quite possible that would have happened in another reality if Spencer was able to stay around on the practice squad. But
what about Eli Rogers? And I know that he was in Pittsburgh recently, but apparently apparently it wasn't for a contract or anything. He was just saying thank you to Art Rooney. So, have you completely ruled out Eli Rogers coming back? That's a guy that can get separation.
I feel it's hard to say. I feel like it's just who do you cut? Because it feels like I want to say Ryan Switzer, but like, can you what he does? What do you think? You go first, because I'm still trying to think about it.
Well, it's either, in my opinion, it's either going to be Switzer, or depending on how it goes down the line, it's Moncrief. But to be honest with you, if you didn't cut Switzer this week and you didn't sign Rogers back, I'm not sure when you would,
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's just kind of hard right now because they obviously decided that Rogers wasn't as worth it as Switzer and Holton and all those guys. But just going forward, and it's like been proven that just Switzer's not really doing much, Holton's not really doing much other than special teams, and then Moncrief has just been terrible. That if you're not going to bring them back now, there really is what's going to happen that's going to make them want to bring back Eli Rogers. An injury, like that's all that's basically can happen that will make me think that they'll bring back Eli Rogers.
So the rest of this game, man, the offense got a little bit in gear when Mason Rudolph came in, but again, just not enough consistency. They still weren't able to get the ground game going. Besides a Benny Snell 23-yard run, I can't really say I saw that one coming. Besides that and the flea flicker to Juju, which was also a little underthrown, those are the only two explosive plays the Steelers had all day.
Yeah, and that's really, really bad for an offense that was so good just last year and 2 years ago. Not good at all.
On the other side of the ball, first half was great. First half was really nice to see. I mean, the one touchdown that they gave up is really on Daniel McCullers more than anything. 4 sacks in the first half. That was a really good half of football by the defense in the first half.
Yeah, I thought the defense was really good in this game. Like, even overall, I mean, I know they gave up 4 touchdowns at the end of the day, but they were playing really well for most of the game, and I thought that they really did all they could to keep the Steelers in this game.
Now, they did, I was thinking in the first half. The second half, unfortunately, is where things kind of go wrong. Now, they did get the interception by Moncrief, and they turned that into a touchdown. Then the Steelers go back and kick a field goal, and then there's a touchdown drive where Rashad Penny runs to the right side and jukes out Anthony Chickillo and runs 37 yards to the end zone. So Chickillo also got hurt in this game, and that's the only reason Ola Adeni played. I'm not sure why Anthony Chickillo is in the game at this point, unless if there's an injury to 2 outside linebackers. I don't really think he should be on the field. Oddly enough, Ola was on the field on that play on the other side.
Really? Was he? I didn't even know.
I believe he was, which also begs the question, why is it on a 3rd and 2 that you have your starting outside linebackers both out? I get that they both need a breather, but can you keep like Watt or Dupree, one of them, on the field for that play?
Yeah, no, that seems messed up. I didn't even realize that Adeni was on the other side. Like, that's a big play. You need to get a stop there and get off the field. Like, I didn't realize that.
So you've got the poor containment, and really the defense just kind of fell apart. They gave up 3 straight touchdown drives in the second half, and by that point, they couldn't do anything. At the end of the game, they gave up a 12-play drive, including, again, this is the part where Russell Wilson, he's not really a running quarterback anymore, except when he needs to be. So the Steelers get lucky. There's a 9-yard scramble by Russell Wilson on a 2nd and 7, but there's holding, so it becomes 2nd and 17. 3rd and 16, the failed quarterback spy by Bud Dupree, and a 15-yard rush by Russell Wilson. It's 4th and 1 at the Steelers' 33. Obviously, they're going to go for it, and Chris Carson gets the first down, and that's how you end it. That's a terrible way to end the game. And I really felt like if the Steelers got the ball back, they'd have had a chance to go down and kick the winning field goal.
Oh, 100%. It felt like the offense was starting to finally click. I mean, you saw Mason Rudolph throw 2 touchdowns before that. Like, it felt pretty good going forward. But, I mean, the defense just couldn't get that last stop. And, I mean, Bud Dupree just really messed up that quarterback spy right there. It just kind of sucks. I'm still mad about that Anthony Chickillo play, though, where he just missed the tackle and let Rashad Penny run for a 37-yard touchdown like that. That was ridiculous. That was so bad. But, I mean, it just kind of sucks because the defense had been playing really well basically all day, and they just couldn't contain Russell Wilson for that 1 3rd and 16. And I feel like this has been the problem with this team. The Steelers will get them in long situations, and then as soon as they get them in that long situation, they allow the team to get it all right back. And I don't know if that's scheme or just they're bad. I feel like it's scheme. I really do. I feel like Keith Butler has them play too far back or something like that, and it's just like they're playing like a prevent defense like there or something like that. Not exactly prevent, but like they're playing far back just to like defend the line when that's not even what you need in that point of the game. You need to stop them as short as possible so they don't go for it, and you have time. I don't know. It's just I feel like there's just so much wrong there. And Bud Dupree, if he, I was still confused. I didn't really know if he was the quarterback spy or not. I felt like he was, but he really failed on that play as well.
Well, the two longest runs of the day for the Seahawks came from Rashad Penny, that 37-yarder, and a 21-yarder by Chris Carson again. I noticed this with T.J. Watt. He does a poor job of containment on setting the edge sometimes. Sometimes he'll get upfield too far. It allowed Chris Carson to run for 21 yards. If the Steelers don't allow those two long runs, they give up 30. They have 31 rushes against them for 93 yards, which, mind you, is a 3 yards per carry average. So if you take away those two plays, and I know it's what ifs, but the run defense would have been much better. And I feel like the Steelers had no answer once Russell Wilson started getting the ball out quickly. The Seahawks made adjustments, and the Steelers didn't make adjustments after that. And again, the winning touchdown to DK Metcalf, when you're talking about Steven Nelson, he had shut him down all day long besides the first pass of the game for the Seahawks. And what do you know? He ends up being on, I think, like a running back or a tight end, and it's Terrell Edmonds, who's obviously not as good in man coverage, tasked with stopping DK Metcalf in the end zone. Like, what do you expect? Keith Butler, again, poor matchups, not putting your guys in situations where they can succeed.
Yeah, 100%, because not even that Terrell Edmonds was bad there. It was just that Steven Nelson is better for that coverage. I mean, Russell Wilson threw a hell of a ball. Terrell Edmonds was actually was pretty good coverage, I'd say. I mean, he didn't get his head around. I feel like that's a big problem with the Steelers defensive backs as of late. They don't get their head around. But I think Steven Nelson would have been there, could have possibly swatted, got a breakup, or even an interception there. Because, I mean, Edmonds was in position. He just doesn't get his head around ever. And just Russell Wilson threw a pretty ball. But, yeah.
So, any final thoughts on this game right now?
I just want to go over some positives because there were some positives here. Chris Boswell probably had one of the best games I've seen him play in a very long time, and not for his field goals. I thought his kickoffs in this game were incredible. He had such amazing ball placement in this game for kickoffs. It was really helping the Steelers out to put them the Seahawks in pretty long situations with how he was kicking off. And then he obviously did hit both his field goals and both his extra points, so he had a really good game here, and I was very happy with him. So I wanted to say that. I was happy to see that Ulysses Gilbert was getting involved. I believe he got both his tackles on... no, I'm sorry. He combined for a tackle for a loss, so he got to play some defense in this game. I was happy to see that he actually did get to play a little bit. I was happy that he had 2 tackles in this game. Benny Snell also had a tackle, so he did good on special teams. I feel like there's one more thing.
Jordan Berry.
Oh, yeah, Jordan Berry had a pretty good game as well, kicking 5 times for 224 yards with a long of 52, and 2 of them were inside the 20, so he did really well as well. So I was happy with them in this game as well.
Actually, I was going to say the specialists this year, Boswell and Berry, have actually been really good, surprisingly good, as a matter of fact. Berry this year, as a matter of fact, on his 10 punts, is averaging 45 yards a punt, and his net is over 40. That's that elite number, if you will, that Danny Smith looks at. So it's almost at 41, which is really nice. And if I have any minor complaints, it's that he occasionally has the ball placed at the 18-yard line on a punt instead of the 10-yard line. But I think that's kind of nitpicking. I mean, he could be a little better, but considering where we've seen him in previous years, this has been, I wouldn't say elite, but it's been really good.
Yeah, no, this might be Jordan Berry's best year so far, at least to start. So I guess there are silver linings to this team, even though they are underperforming a little bit. So, yeah, no, but There are some things to be happy about and to watch.
Absolutely. So I guess we can put a bow on the Steelers' second game, a loss to the Seattle Seahawks, and then we'll get into the rest of Week 2 before we turn our focus to Week 3 in the NFL.
Yeah, man. Hopefully the Steelers get a win this next Sunday.
They are running out of time. They got to get her done. So Week 2 in the NFL season. Lots going on around the NFL. Did we cover Thursday night's game? I feel like we did.
We were podcasting while it was happening, I believe.
Oh yeah, that's right. So the Panthers lost to the Buccaneers, and I'm absolutely furious with the Panthers and Cam Newton. Cam Newton is terrible. He's injured, and he needs to retire. I'm sorry. I've never lost an eliminator, like a survivor pick, this early in the year. I've never gone less than 8 games to start a year, and this is the first time I've lost like this early. And the fact that I already don't like Cam Newton and the Panthers, I'm really frustrated, and I'm tempted to pick against them the rest of this year.
Yep, and it would probably be a good choice since Cam Newton. Actually, I don't even know. The Cam Newton's not playing. I don't know if that's better for their team or not, because it actually probably seems like it's better at the moment. But I was pissed off too. I picked them for my eliminator, and on the podcast, I picked them in the eliminator for my money league. I do, and I was not a happy camper about it, because you know how hard it is for a team on Thursday Night Football to lose when you're the home team and you're better on paper. Like, come on, man. Like, how bad can you be? And that just pissed me off. I don't like the Panthers. I literally said it when I picked them. I was like, I'm picking them now because I'm never going to pick them again because I hate the Panthers, and they still disappointed me. Just makes sense.
I only like Christian McCaffrey and Greg Olsen. That's all I like.
I like Luke Kuechly.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about him.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. So getting into the Week 1 slate, the Buffalo Bills are 2-0 this year, Austin. We're losing our minds up here in Western New York. The Bills go into go into East Rutherford, New Jersey, and put up 28 on the New York Giants' poorest defense. Eli Manning, in what looks like it could be his final start, and we'll get to that in a minute, only puts up 14 points as the Bills improve to 2-0 and the Giants fall to 0-2. I didn't get to see much of this game, but from what I understand, the Bills controlled it throughout.
Yeah, I didn't watch much either. I just keep hearing that the Giants have no pass rush. I was disappointed, man. I was looking for some Tuzar Skipper stats. He apparently played in this game, but he didn't get any stats from it, which make I say that like it's a bad thing. It makes me feel a little bit better on the inside that he didn't get that many stats, but like I also want to see him succeed as well. Like, it's hard for me. I thought Skipper was gonna be dope. I don't know how many snaps he played. I just know that he was active, so I'm still gonna watch and see if Tuzar Skipper does anything for the Giants.
Maybe he only plays special teams.
Possibly.
The Niners go into Cincinnati and put up 41 points at Paul Brown Stadium. That impressive Week 1 showing by the Bengals. Well, I guess I kind of now realize that was because the Bengals head coach is a former disciple of Sean McVay, who knows what to run against the Seahawks. So I guess that makes more sense. And the Bengals have fallen back to reality. The Niners hammered them.
Yeah, man. The Niners really gave it to him. It didn't look like that was going to happen at first. Jimmy G threw another bad interception in the beginning of this game like he did in the first week. And I thought the Bengals were going to be able to stand a chance, but the 49ers just took off, just absolutely destroyed them. And but that being said, I'm looking for next week the Steelers to get their first interception. And after we're done with this, I have something to bring up. But yeah, so... this was a disappointing game for the Bengals. I really thought they were going to be better.
When did you want to bring something up?
After we go through all these NFL games and the NFL news. Just a little closing stuff.
Okay. We also had the Cowboys at the Washington Redskins. Dallas pulls out a 31-21 victory. A slow start for the Cowboys. The Redskins once again get out to an early lead but can't hold it in the divisional game. They just can't get anything going on the ground, and they're just limited right now. The Cowboys prove that they are the better team, winning by 10.
Yes, sir. The Cowboys are doing really well with their new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, and I think that the Cowboys are actually like a pretty solid contender for the NFC this year. I kind of like their team, so I'm going to be watching the Cowboys. I think they're an interesting team going forward.
I still need to see them play better teams. They're playing Miami next week, I believe.
Yes, they are. That's true. It's the first time no, okay, maybe not the first time. I think it's the first time since like 1950 that there are two teams with a 20-point spread. Two games where there's a 20-point spread in it, with the Patriots playing the Jets and the Cowboys playing the Dolphins.
Yeah, so I mean, the Cowboys have played, the Giants, the Redskins, and they'll get the Dolphins. So, we'll see. I need to see them play someone else first. Chargers at the Lions. The Lions picked up a low-scoring 13-10 victory at home. I was never a big believer in the Chargers, especially when all the injuries started mounting up. I am concerned about them. Another one of those teams I have question marks with.
Yeah, they're definitely not guaranteed, and they're really banged up. They lost the safety that they had replacing Derwin James, Adrian Phillips. He's out for the year now as well, or he's at least I think he got put on IR. So I don't know if he's out for the year, but like they're a really, really injured team at the moment. They don't have Melvin Gordon, which actually hasn't been their biggest problem. So they're just, I should have known better. The Chargers are really good at blowing games. Really, really good. And last year they were so close. They were 10-6, but they were so close to being 6-10 in so many games. So I should have probably saw this coming. But I really thought Detroit just isn't a good team.
Vikings at Packers. The Minnesota Vikings returned to looking like the team I thought they were going to look like. Green Bay is out to an impressive 2-0. They put up 21 points, but almost blow the game, giving up 16 unanswered, but they hold on for the win. That defense does look legit up in Wisconsin. Yep,
but Kirk Cousins is bad, and he should feel bad, and that's all I have to say about this game.
Hey, it's good when he only has to throw 10 passes, but when he has to throw more than that, it's concerning.
Yeah, that's too much.
The Colts go in and get a victory on the road in Tennessee. The Titans coming off what was an impressive Week 1 victory on the road. Disappoint at home this time around, and the AFC South is all jumbled up to start the year.
Jacoby! I love Jacoby, man. I really want the Brissett to work out, so I really like this Colts team, even though it doesn't have Andrew Luck.
They're no longer the fighting Chad Kelly, so I'm pretty disappointed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I never know where I stand on the Titans. I was low on them 2 weeks ago. I was high on them last week, and now I just don't know where to go with them.
Yeah, they're like that constant 8-8 team. I feel like they're going to be the new Dolphins, that they just kind of exist at 8-8 and don't really get better, don't really get worse. They're just there.
The Patriots laid a whooping on the Dolphins, 43-0 in Miami, and it really could have been worse if they were more on their game. The 18.5-point spread is absolutely throttled, and the Dolphins look awful, and they just got worse. They lost their best defensive player in that trade with the Steelers. It's only going to get worse from here, man.
Yeah, man. It's just Xavier Howard now. Rashad Jones is hurt. It's just Xavier Howard out there hanging out by himself. And that poor dude. I said that the Steelers should have brought him in with the trade with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Obviously, that's just like a joke. Xavier Howard cost way too much because he'd probably cost like another first-round pick on his own. But that's it, man. That's all the Dolphins have at the moment. They're a really, really bad team. And I think that in my money league, for fun, I'm not going to do it on the podcast, but in my money league, I'm going to pick against them in my Survivor for like the rest of the year.
That would be the smart bet, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's no team. There should be no team that they can beat. They lack so much talent. It's ridiculous.
The Dolphins also might be looking into trading their top running back, Kenyon Drake, and he hasn't been super, but at the same time, he's one of the few pieces on offense for that team that can do anything. I mean, their quarterbacks are constantly under duress. There's no one standing out on offense, and besides Howard on defense, there's nobody. I mean, Kenyon Drake might be one of the best players on that team, and they may trade him too.
Yep. I like Albert Wilson, but Albert Wilson's hurt. True. He's hurt, so like he's not contributing.
Hurt again?
Yeah, no, he didn't play this past week, and he's not looking like he's going to play this week either. He didn't participate in practice today.
Try to package him, Devontae Parker, and Kenyon Drake, and just keep those tanks rolling.
There you go. That sounds great.
The Ravens win another game at home, this time against the Arizona Cardinals. They win 23-17, but the Cardinals nearly pulled that one off. I don't know what this says more about, if it says more about the Ravens maybe not being as legit as we thought, or maybe the Cardinals are finding a groove here.
So what I'm thinking, right, is I actually think that the Ravens offense is performing is because I like I said, I haven't actually made a complete judgment on them yet. I think what I'm leaning towards is their offense is actually better than I thought it would be, and their defense just isn't that good. Like, because they lost a lot of pieces on defense, and it makes sense. Like, I mean, they added Earl Thomas, and that's a huge add. Like, Earl Thomas is a great player, but they lost so many guys, including, like, Tavon Young, and, like, they lost, I'm forgetting his name. He went to Green Bay, though.
You're thinking of Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, they lost him. They lost some other pass rushers and stuff. Like, Terrell Suggs. They lost a bunch of guys. So, like, I think that's what's happening here, and that's what allowed Arizona to almost come back in this game. So, I think I'm going to have to... we're going to see after this week. The Chiefs is a big game. The Chiefs don't have that great of a defense. They just got some good pieces like Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Jones, guys like that. But it's going to be definitely... and Clark. I should say Clark as well. But it's going to be interesting. I can't wait. It's going to be a game that I'm even excited to watch. I'm going to be rooting for the Chiefs, obviously, but I'm excited for that game next week.
That could be interesting because it feels like, we know the Ravens typically with Jackson have been a team that runs the ball a lot. But we saw 2 weeks ago, yes, it was Miami, but they threw the ball with great effectiveness too. Mark Andrews has been my favorite fantasy find this year. I drafted him in 2 leagues. I felt like he was going to be a really good option. So far, he's been the top tight end in the league. How do you feel? I mean, obviously, if the game goes in terms of like a ground and pound style, that favors the Ravens. But I feel like the Ravens could at least put up a good fight if it turns into a boat race kind of thing,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think their offense is good, and that works out for them because if they're for the Chiefs don't care about defense. The Chiefs just ignore it and just keep going forward and just throw for 500 yards anyway. Obviously an exaggeration, but we haven't seen the Chiefs really get slowed down or stopped much at all since Patrick Mahomes took over. So what they need to go against is usually another high-powered offense that can throw. And if Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown, and Mark Ingram and Mark Andrews can all keep up doing what they're doing, they're going to be fine. They could definitely win this game. This game is not out of the question for them if it is going as we think it's going.
We already covered the Steelers and Seahawks, Jacksonville at Houston. So the Texans pull out a very narrow victory. The offense looking very unimpressive against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew nearly pulls off the comeback, but they come up just short. The Texans go to 1-1. The Jaguars fall to 0-2. But again, the AFC South looks like it's anyone's game right now.
Yeah, man, and the Jaguars are going to be falling down that after they... actually, we'll save that for later, but... Yeah, this game was close, and I kind of saw that coming. I don't think the Texans are that great, and I still like the Jaguars' defense, so it made sense for me.
100%. And the aforementioned Chiefs we just talked about, they went to Oakland for the last time, and they put up 20 points on them. That game was competitive at one point, and then it wasn't. It was just really quick, and I think it was right before halftime, wasn't it?
That second quarter, man, was absolutely disgusting. Like, Patrick Mahomes threw for 300 yards in the second quarter. Like, that's gross. Like, how does that happen? Patrick Mahomes, we're literally watching probably one of the best quarterbacks of all time starting his career right now because he's playing out of his mind right now. He's playing along with some of the best quarterback performances, like, at least that I've been alive for. It's kind of insane. And I know it's the Raiders, but throwing for 300 yards in a quarter, that's gross.
It's like watching Brett Favre at his peak, almost.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't care how bad the team was. Even if it was against Miami, I would have been impressed with that many yards in a quarter.
Chicago and Denver, for a low-scoring game, this game was pretty entertaining. It looked like the Broncos were going to pull it off with that gutsy two-point conversion play. I was feeling good about Joe Flacco after that. He had a difficult game, but came through in the end with Emmanuel Sanders. And then the Bears go right down the field, and it's, what's his name? Eddie Pinheiro, I believe. He was the guy we looked at, right?
Yeah, we looked at Pinheiro.
I remember it. I remember that. So he kicks the game-winning field goal that Denver Eric allows him to punch the ball a little further, and Chicago escapes with a victory over Denver, who was 0-2 for the first time in, like, forever.
Yeah, it's very controversial, the ending to that game. The Vic Fangio felt like the Bears shouldn't have been able to call a timeout with 1 second left. They didn't think he got down quick enough. But it was a very interesting game and really sad for Broncos fans.
Oh, poor Dom. Is Dom okay?
Dom was not okay. Dom sent me just a one emoji text with that really sad face as soon as it happened. I was like, oh, buddy.
Don't worry, misery loves company, my man.
Yes, sir.
Misery is what a lot of Saints fans feel right now. If it were not for that 58-yard field goal, they'd be at 0-2. They get hammered 27-9 by the Los Angeles Rams. They lose Drew Brees, and we'll get into the Drew Brees thing in a little bit, but they lose Drew Brees to an injury, and then they have another controversial call. Man, these officials really need to stop blowing the whistle on loose ball plays like that, because that's not reviewable. You need to just let the play finish, and then you can review whether or not the correct call was made. They're really hamstringing themselves by not doing that, and I'm really disappointed.
Yeah, it's really, really rough. I mean, I still kind of don't... I feel bad for Saints fans, but I also don't really, because I remember the Steelers-Saints game, and I don't remember Saints fans talking about that, with obviously the bad play against Joe Hayden and stuff, but anyway... the refs are really just playing a little bit too much ref ball in all the games this year. We actually did see it against the Steelers in the Seahawks matchup. We saw it where they called there was no pass interference on Terrell Edmonds, and then got challenged, and it was gross, and apparently like he hindered. I forget which receiver it was, but we've seen a lot of ref ball these first couple weeks, and it kind of sucks. The rule was put in place for egregious calls, however you say it, for bad calls. Like, not for, like, little things like, oh, maybe a tiny bit. It was meant for, like, when Nicole Roby-Coleman literally smashes himself into a Saints wide receiver before the ball is anywhere close to his hands. Like, I don't know. I feel like the rule is being misused.
Yeah, but it doesn't shock you that the NFL does that anyways. And I guess we completely forgot to cover that with the Steelers and the Terrell Edmonds pass interference call. I get where people would look at that and say there was interference, but again, like you said, it's supposed to be for clear and obvious. That was not necessarily clear and obvious to me. And then furthermore, you could talk about Bud Dupree hitting Russell Wilson in the head before, and T.J. Watt getting held. Like if we're gonna, this is my big thing. If you're gonna make one thing reviewable, you should be able to make everything reviewable.
Oh yeah. Bud Dupree should have definitely been fined. I can't believe he's made it out of this week without a fine. He said he got interviewed today about it. He said it's Wednesday. I guess I'm not getting a fine, because that's incredible. He hit Russell Wilson right in the head, helmet to helmet. Like, that was a really bad hit.
He's gonna get fined just for saying I'm not gonna get fined.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Sunday Night Football, the Eagles and Falcons. I didn't see much of this game, but the Falcons come away with the 24-20 victory. It sounds like Carson Wentz was getting hit a lot, and he nearly had to leave the game too, from what I understand.
Yeah. So last week I told you guys I was going to put money on this game, and luckily I didn't, but I was going to. I was going to stay true to my promise and say I'd put $50 on it. I would have, but here's my official warning. Do not use my bookie. It's a website for betting. It's how I got immediate fraud from trying to bet on that site. I literally was in the process of trying to do it, and then I had to cancel my card. So I was going to put my money where my mouth was, but Nigeria stopped me. So blame Nigeria. But regardless, I was disappointed. I thought the Eagles are a much better team than the Falcons. Granted, they lost their two best wide receivers. They lost Alshon Jeffrey really early on, and they lost Deshaun Jackson as well. So that's pretty rough when you're only left with like Nelson Algahor and I don't even know if he was active. Was J.J. Arcega-Whiteside active? I liked him pre-draft, but I think he was inactive for this game because I've been seeing reports that J.J. is ready to step up for this next game, so he might have been inactive in that game. I know they were really short on wide receivers. That's all I know. Oh, and they lost Dallas Goedert as well, so they couldn't even do like 2 tight end sets because they lost Goedert as well. So it was really rough for the Eagles in this game.
Mm-hmm. And then Monday Night Football was kind of a snooze fest. The Cleveland Browns put up 23 points, but that game was close and ugly for a while. The Browns' offense was stuck in the mud most of the game. And the Jets just couldn't get anything going with Trevor Siemian. He suffers an ankle injury. He's out for the year. And then Luke Falk comes in and does what a third quarterback would do, which is not very much.
Yeah, man. Poor Le'Veon Bell's trying to carry that whole entire offense, and it's just not enough. The Jets are really hit by the injury bug so far this year, and it's not helping at all. It kind of sucks. I mean, at least they're saying Sam Darnold will come back by week 5, but their team is so messed up at the moment.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised. I felt like this is what was going to happen anyways, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so that concludes week 2. Austin, you went 9-7. I went 8-8 this week, so you had a much better week, and so did I. I'm trailing, though, by 4 games. So you're off to the early start right now, and we'll see where things go from there. Let's get into some NFL news. We'll kind of go through this kind of quickly. Jalen Ramsey looks like the Jaguars are going to try to trade him. He had kind of I don't know if it's like a meltdown or a tirade, or like he had an incident with head coach Doug Marrone on Sunday, and it comes out now that he wants to be traded. And I don't know, like, I haven't looked into this much at all. Could you fill in a little bit?
So with the Jalen Ramsey thing, is he just got into a fight with Doug Marrone. We don't even really know what the fight was about. He just saw them jar at each other on the sideline, and they basically around the league said, like, you can't survive after something like that. Like, it's not going to work. So essentially, they were basically accepted that they're going to have to move on from Jalen Ramsey. They asked for 2 first, but they need at least a first and more than that. So likely, and right now it sounds like everyone thinks he's going to be traded on Friday. Like it sounds like that there's a team that's ready to do it on Friday. For some reason, not today. I don't know why. Maybe a team's waiting to see if he's injured. But even if he comes out of the game unscathed, he will not be eligible to play for another team on Sunday or Monday if a team trades for him on Friday. But that sounds like where we're going to see Jalen Ramsey get moved. Everyone's making it sound that way anyway.
Where could he go?
I'm thinking Kansas City, because Kansas City was in for Minka Fitzpatrick as well. Another place, Eagles. Eagles desperately need a corner really bad, and Howie Roseman is almost involved in every single major player trade ever. I think Dallas could probably use them. They just lost one of their defensive backs for quite a while. I forget. Xavier Woods, I believe. Who else? Oh, I forgot my favorite. I think the Seahawks. Seahawks are definitely in there for that, because the Seahawks could definitely use a corner like him, and I feel like they would be putting together a new like Legion of Boom with Bobby Wagner, Jalen Ramsey, Jadeveon Clowney, all those guys, and it'd be so dope. So I think the Seahawks are my favorite right now, but I think I've heard a lot about Titans and Oakland Raiders. The Raiders are probably another top team for me, thinking that they could get them.
All right, Drew Brees, as we already talked about, he had a surgery on a ligament injury in his thumb. He's expected to return in roughly 6 weeks. Sean Payton was asked about who the starting quarterback will be in this game next week. He said, we'll approach this game with 2 quarterbacks. So I don't know exactly what that means. I kind of feel like it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater, and then for most of the game, Taysom Hill in special situations. What do you think?
I agree. I think Teddy Bridgewater should just be the starter. I mean, you paid him a high salary to stay with you instead of going to the Dolphins, and like you got to make him your number 2. I think they're going to keep Taysom Hill the same way they've been using him. Where I don't know if you watch many Saints games this year, but they do take Drew Brees off the field quite a bit just to use Taysom Hill on some read options and stuff like that, and weird plays, weird situations. So I think it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater the starter with Taysom Hill doing the same exact thing he's been doing.
All right, the Eli Manning era appears to be over in New York, at least for the time being. He's been benched for Daniel Jones for their Week 3 game in Tampa. What do you think about that? I
think it's a good place to start because Buccaneers aren't that good of a team. You don't throw Daniel Jones straight into fire. Maybe give him a little bit of a chance to succeed here. It is sad to see like the 2004 quarterbacks start going down in different ways. Phillip Rivers is still going strong, but it's about time. I mean, Eli Manning realistically has been a dud for like 4 years. Like it's been a while since we've seen good Eli Manning play. And I don't think he's the reason the Giants are losing right now, because he hasn't actually been terrible, but like it's just he hasn't been good for a while, and it was time. It's time for something else. But he wasn't even their number one problem, in my opinion. Their pass rush is terrible. I think they don't get any pass rush in any situation ever. So, still though, I think it was time to just let your new guy take the reins and see what he can do.
Really, the right time to do it would have been last year.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I feel like doing it at this point doesn't really do much for your team. I feel like Daniel Jones could. I know that like week 3 against the Bucs, he'll probably be fine, but I think that team is just not good. The defense is awful. It's one of the worst in the game, and I'm not convinced that the offense is that good either. Like you said, he really wasn't the biggest problem there. I think he'll play fine, but I'm worried about Jones getting injured. I don't think that offensive line is any good whatsoever. Even if I should rephrase. They're better than they were the last couple of years. I don't know, man. I wasn't crazy about the Giants not taking a quarterback and taking Barkley instead last year. I get like waiting to take the right guy, and if Daniel Jones is the guy, that's fine with me. I feel like it might have been doing this might be a little too soon just in terms of the optics, because now you say, why'd you even bring Eli back, you know?
Yeah, it seems weird.
I don't know. I guess time will tell, you know. Let's see. David Njoku, the Browns tight end, suffered both a concussion and a broken wrist against the New York Jets. Initial reports are that he's going to need surgery and he's going to miss at least a month, but it could be more than that. So the Browns lose another piece on their offense that has been relatively disappointing through 2 weeks.
Yeah, man. He actually had shown a little bit in the Giants game, but kind of sucks that he's immediately going to lose. Steelers play him November 14th, or play the Browns for the first time November 14th. So that'll be something to monitor. That's almost 2 months from now, so he might be back in time, but he hasn't had the surgery yet. And they're saying that the month is like the minimum value, and they're expecting more. So there's a chance that he's not there for the Steelers game, which would play into their favor. So I just thought that would be something to watch out for.
Yes, he's getting a second opinion. That's what it was, I think, right?
Yeah,
Did he say that?
Yeah, he's waiting to get a second opinion if he needs the surgery.
So, if you lose him, you're going to get Kareem Hunt back. You've got Nick Chubb. You've got the receivers. I feel like the offense's biggest problem, as we kind of thought it would be the whole time, is our offensive line.
Yeah, man. Also, Baker Mayfield hasn't been playing all too great for the most part, so.
I don't know. I feel like they can play better, but again, I feel like 8-8 was right around where I expected them to be. I think they might not get there.
It's going to be hard. It's definitely going to...
Like we were talking about, they have a tough schedule, right?
Yeah, when you said the Rams, Patriots, and Baltimore in like the next 4 weeks, like that sounds like 3 losses and 1 win. So that's not setting you up when you're already only 1-1. So you're going to go to 2-4. Oof.
Yeah, it's not a great outlook for them, but I guess time will tell. The Cowboys just a couple hours ago cut their 2017 first-round pick, Taco Charlton. He was pick number 28. Remember, T.J. Watt was pick 30, and the Cowboys have been trying to trade him, but it's found no partners. It was a pretty disappointing end to what's been a frustrating tenure that saw Taco Charlton accrue just 4 sacks in 27 games. Remember, Jarvis Jones had, I think, 5 or 6 in his career with the Steelers and missed a ton of games and added 2 picks, so you want to look at a first-round bust that's even worse than Jarvis Jones. Here's one for you.
Yeah, no, Charlton had a really rough time, and from all the reports, I heard he's not putting in the work to be good, to live up to that first-round potential. And he's also been, like, bad on social media, so I don't know if he's going to be picked up. Like, is it worth it? Because you're going to have to find a team that has to deal with his work ethic, and he was mouthy on Twitter as well. He said I think he just tweeted out like a few hours ago, too. He said, the last thing I wanted to do was go to social media to get my freedom, but this is what you gotta do, or something close to that. I was like, that was off-putting to me. I don't know what about it was off-putting, but there was something off-putting about tweeting about it to me.
The Indianapolis Colts have waived quarterback Chad Kelly after he returned from a 2-game suspension. Kelly once again dug his own grave in this regard. His suspension forced the Colts to find a backup for Jacoby Brissett once Andrew Luck retired. They found one in Brian Hoyer. Kelly is eligible for the practice squad, but he may end up going elsewhere if the opportunity presents itself. much to the dismay of one fan on Twitter, as we saw, Austin.
Yes, that poor guy that's an idiot and bought both a Broncos and Colts Chad Kelly jersey in the hopes I would stick with one. Yikes.
And he stuck with neither.
Yes, sir.
The Patriots have placed offensive tackle Isaiah Wynn on injured reserve with a toe injury. He's expected to be back in roughly 8 weeks, which would put us at week 10.
Yes, sir. The initial report is he had turf toe, which normally isn't like an 8-week injury, but I guess the Patriots decided that it was just better to put him on an IR and have him designate him to come back. It's just weird to me. Like, turf toe normally is like a day-to-day injury that, or maybe sometime lasts a week, and it's bad because you could re-injure it easily, but like usually if you sit out 2 weeks or just 1 week and give it some time, you're like fine. But I guess they decided that it was just really bad case of turf toe.
What was that?
I said I guess it's just a really bad case of turf toe for Isaiah Wynn, that they thought it would take a long time for him to recover.
I guess I've never had turf toe. I know turf toe is worse than it sounds. For those who don't know, that's when your toe gets bent back like really far. So trust me, it's not comfortable, but I don't know, maybe they just feel like it's the better option.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, I think I'm all set here. If there's anything else you want to add this week.
Okay, so there's two things. First of all, the Week 3 Thursday Night Football pick. Tennessee at Jacksonville. Tennessee is favored by 1.5 points. Who do you got in this game?
I'm going to take the Jaguars. I'm not sure how I feel about the Titans. They're on the road on the Thursday night game. I like the way Gardner Minshew has played, and I know he wasn't super impressive, but that's my dude. I want to see them succeed, and I got Leonard Fournette on my fantasy team, so I'll take them plus the 1.5 points here.
I'm going to take the Titans to win by the 1.5. I think they're going to cover it. I don't really know. The Tennessee Titans are always a toss-up. I don't know about the Jaguars right now. I'm a little confused by their team as well. So I'm going to pick the Titans to cover the spread here. Now, the last little thing I wanted to mention, I had talked about, when talking about the 49ers-Bengals game, the Steelers should get a pick for the first time in Week 3. I think that they should. Now, if you had to pick 3 players, we'll do it draft style. So you can pick a player, I'll pick a player. I want you to take a guess on who's going to be the first player on the Steelers roster to get a pick. Pick one guy.
To have an interception this year.
Yeah, who's going to be the first guy?
Okay, you'll save these because I don't have like a notebook near me.
Yeah, sure, I'll save these.
Okay, and you're gonna let me go first.
You're gonna go first, then I'm gonna go second.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Steven Nelson, number 1.
Steven Nelson, number 1 is a good pick because that's who I would have picked. So if I were to pick after that, I'm gonna actually pick Joe Hayden. So I go Joe Hayden.
This really isn't that. This might seem kind of short-sighted because it'll be his first game with the team, but I'm going to go with Mika Fitzpatrick at number 2.
I would have done the same exact thing. I hate you. But so after that, I think that I'm going to give it to a linebacker. I think I'm going to go Devin Bush. I think he gets it.
Yep. That's probably where I would have gone next. I guess I'll go. You know what? I'll defer. I'll let you take this next one.
So for my last one, I'm going to go with a guy that's been a playmaker in the past. I'm going to go Mike Hilton. I think Mike Hilton could get it. I mean, he didn't really get one last year, but I'm going to still pick him as one of the first guys to get one. So I go Mike Hilton.
He actually did have one last year. I don't know if you remember. He had that one against Tampa Bay. The Steelers have, I think, just 4 interceptions since that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game.
Oh, that's so gross, dude. That's actually...
It's been a year now. It's been a year because that was the Week 3 game last year.
Yeah, that's terrible. I honestly forgot Hilton had a pick. I thought he finished the year without any.
He had just one. It was on a tipped pass. But I was either going to go with Hilton, and I'll go with Terrell Edmonds last, just because I know he hasn't been super dynamic, but I'm still expecting a little more out of him, and I think with a better safety to pair with him, I think that'll bring out a little better play in him. So I'll pick Terrell Edmonds third. So are we staking anything on this?
I don't think so. I just wanted to do it for fun. I mean, chances are it'll be someone's unknown. It'll be something really stupid. I'm pretty sure Cameron Sutton got the first pick for the Steelers last year.
That's correct.
Yeah. So it's like he's not on here, and for good reason, because he doesn't really play that much. So it could be something like that. But I think giving a six guys here, I think there's a good chance we hit one of them. 6 starters.
No, it's going to be like a tip dump off on a screen, and Daniel McCullers is going to have a pick six.
Yeah.
99 yards.
99 yards. Basically a guy that's shaped like a fridge. Bet.
Sure, it's going to happen. But, man, don't hold your breath, because we've had to hold our breath for a while. It was the Joe Hayden pick against the Patriots, and besides, I was just thinking, what are these last? I think it's 4 interceptions, because the Steelers had 8 last year, 7 or 8.
Something like that.
Actually, I'm kind of curious now. Let's see if we can figure out what those interceptions were before we wrap this up. So we have the Hayden interception against the Patriots. There was the Vince Williams pick 6 against the Panthers. I think there were 2 more.
Oh, wait. Oh, we're talking past the Buccaneers game, right?
Yeah, so in the past calendar year.
Okay.
Maybe there's only 3.
Huh. See, I can't even remember the other ones. Like, it's really, really rough for me. Like,
well, here's a third one. Sean Davis against the Saints.
I don't even remember that one, if I'm being honest with you.
It was weird. It was Taysom Hill was in the game. They had him throw like a 40-yard pass to the end zone, and Davis picked it off.
Oh, okay.
So that's 3. There's one more. I definitely remember this one. I want to see if you can get it. It's right after the bye. It's shortly after the bye week, I believe. Well, let me pull up the schedule. I'm trying to remember when the bye week was. Okay, yes, this was after the bye week, but before the Panthers game.
No. I don't remember.
So it was Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden picked off Baker Mayfield on a deep ball. So we've had 4 interceptions in the last calendar year. Joe Hayden times 2. A pick by Vince Williams where T.J. Watt forced a terrible throw by Cam Newton that he should never have thrown. And you've got the one by Sean Davis, which, half of these are deep balls. So something's got to change.
Yeah,
man. Butler, man, your time is running out.
Yes, sir. That is 100% true. But this game, there's a good chance. Jimmy G has been making a lot of bad mistakes. He's thrown an interception in both his games so far this year. I really think that this is going to be the first game the Steelers get one. I really do.
And not to mention, he hasn't been facing a ton of pressure either, and he's still making these bad throws.
Exactly, and no Staley anymore, so there's going to be more pressure. But that's next episode.
Yep, we'll get into that next time. But I think I'm all good if you're ready to wrap this one up.
Yes, sir. So, everybody, you guys have been listening to Season 4, Episode 29 of the Stronger Than Steel podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you could hit us up on social media. You could email us. You can comment down below. All the descriptions to our social media accounts and our email will be down below in the description. So, everybody, have a good night.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.